Hi and welcome to this final episode of One Small Change, where we're going to look at food and the things we might do in the garden. I'm basing a lot of the thoughts around food on Mike Berners-Lee, How Bad Are Bananas? He's an academic who looks at the impact that our lifestyles have on climate change by measuring the amount of greenhouse gas that each individual thing that we do or thing that we eat might have an impact. So his basic conclusion is that our first principle should be to buy local. So if you buy a potato and you buy it locally, so you buy it from just up the road at a farm, that's the perfect choice. If you can't get it locally, then you buy it from a supermarket which has supplied it from within Britain. That does mean there's been more distribution, everything's been brought to one point and then sent to supermarkets, but that's much better than buying from abroad. So buy British, buy from a British farmer is the principle number one. If there are things that we like and that we can't buy British, so ideally we'd only eat things that you can grow in Britain. But if we're going the next step and we're saying there are some things that we would like to bring in from abroad, ideally they're things that can come by ship, like a butternut squash. This will last the journey and can travel for a long time before it starts to go off. It might be that in August you'd want a strawberry and it comes from seldom seen farm or it comes from the supermarket. Very nice, very lovely, no problem. If you want a strawberry at Christmas, it would ideally be better if, like these raspberries, it had been frozen and you accepted the fact you couldn't have fresh. If it's something like peppers, it might be that we could get them in Britain, but in order to have them in Britain outside of the season, so he's talking about eating seasonally, then we would have to have them from a hothouse where it was a big greenhouse with lots of carbon emission raised from keeping the temperature warm, but not ideal. So we would eat peppers when they're easily grown, where the sun is the generator of the heat for them, but we wouldn't encourage the farmers by eating out of season where they have to use a hothouse or by bringing in from abroad. And one way, again, to get around that is to go for a way that they've been preserved while they were in season, such as having them in a jar or frozen. And then finally, he talks about how we should, where possible, increase the amount of plants in our diet as opposed to meat. Plants naturally on the whole have a lower carbon footprint, but if we are going for meat, then his calculation would say that we should, the lowest footprint would be from chicken, followed by bacon, then lamb, then beef, all of those British. And we should absolutely avoid any of the beef which might come from Argentina or Brazil, where there's been deforestation to create the land in which the cattle could be produced. So basic principles: buy local, eat in season. If you need something from abroad, bring it in by ship. Don't bring in strawberries or blueberries or whatever by air freight, because that's really harmful. And where possible, increase the amount of plants in your diet. Okay, thanks then. And now over to Nigel in the garden.
Hi, so we've seen that we try to eat vegetables that are in season. And one way of doing that is growing your own. And this is really very simple. Seeds are readily available and really cheap. And this is a great time of the year to start thinking about sowing them. I've started sowing some and some are already growing. This is courgettes and these are really going really well. And I'm looking forward to some really lovely courgettes later in the year. Some people are concerned about the plastic pots, but if you use them year after year, then that's a really great way of making sure that the plastic is well used. Or you can use other pots like yogurt pots or these, which are compostable, and you can plant these in the ground and they'll rot away and allow the plant to grow, which is really good. One of the things that growing vegetables means is that you need to use compost. It's really important that we try to use peat-free compost. The peat bogs in the world are very important as they store in the carbon throughout the world. And as you can see, you can get peat-free compost relatively cheaply. This is currently on offer in Aldi. Obviously, when it comes to watering, we really want to use the natural resources. So we've got a couple of water butts here that will store up. They're full at the moment and we can use them over the spring. And it's a really good use of water that ordinarily would just go down the drain. One of the other things that we try to do is to compost our vegetable waste. Now, this isn't a very good compost bin, but within inside it, we put all of our cuttings and all of our peelings and things like that, and that will rot down, and you can take that after a few months and put that on the garden. That will really put the nutrients back into your soil. Hi, so we've talked about eating seasonable vegetables. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is growing your own. And seeds are really quite inexpensive.
I think that's it. A minute of silliness.
They're everywhere.